Too bad both sides aren't equal. Now we might make 108. All right, guys.
$3.
One day.
Same tree.
Same tree.
Oh my god, I'm so cool.
Woo!
Holy shit! Get a shot of these.
2 farms this year. Number 1 is done.
Did you say bye, Kevin?
I did. I already did. Bye, Kevin.
Bye, Kevin.
Bye, Kevin. Bye, Kevin. Smoked it, buddy. Look at that. You destroyed it.
Joey takes the shop is closing up.
Make sure he takes all his right antlers. Welcome to the Deer Shop Podcast, episode 13. Mid to late October right now when this one's airing, I believe.
October 19th.
We're recording October 19th. It's going to air sometime next week on Monday. Let's start off by apologizing for not having a podcast last week. It's the first time since we started the podcast that we have failed to bring you guys a new Monday morning episode. We don't really have an excuse. Isaac got back from out west and has just been real busy with work. He actually had to do a lot of work, and I was hunting and filming. Ethan was hunting. We've all been hunting pretty hard, and we actually had a night lined up to do some podcasting.
And we had a bit of a mishap.
Yeah, and some stuff happened, which you will be able to see on the Deer Camp Chronicles. I don't know which episode it'll be featured in, but we've already released 2 episodes of our new series, the Deer Camp Chronicles.
We can talk about that because we have not talked about that besides.
Yeah. Aaron. Yeah, I think I want to get into that stuff in the second half of this podcast.
Okay.
Let's go right down to the nuts and bolts. If you're listening this week, you probably saw the title, and our title for this week, episode 13, is Finding Your Target Bucks and what you do to find them. We are giving most of our advice for, I'd say, private land hunting, but this stuff is applicable to the public land hunters. We do have cameras in 3 different pieces of public in 2 different states right now. So we got Pennsylvania, we got some cameras out trying to build a hit list. Indiana, we have cameras out trying to build a hit list, both public land, and we do have some cameras on public land here in Ohio. But I'm going to go through what I do to find my hit list bucks every year.
Before you get into that, we're just going to mention that this is how we're going to kind of do the podcast throughout the season.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about our topic for that week. This week it's finding your target bucks. And then after that, we're going to talk about kind of an update of how we've been doing, how we've been hunting, like a live update.
Yep.
But we're going to get to the meat and the potatoes of the podcast first.
Yeah, because I will admit, if I'm listening to any other of the big name podcasts, and I won't drop them, but we love listening to podcasts. I probably don't listen to as many as I should for being a podcast host, but I hate personally when I go to listen to a podcast and it's 10 minutes of sponsors, 10 minutes of my kid's baseball and blah, 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 hunting this buck and blah, blah, blah. I like to get right to the point. And then if you're invested in what we're doing here, you'll listen to our episode today and then you'll hang around at the end while you're driving in your car or
we'll get that. We'll get to that stuff after.
Yeah, and you'll be able to hear about everything that we're doing at that point because honestly, for us, our content is more video related than the podcast. We can talk about it all day on here, but we'd rather have you watch on YouTube. So check out our channel, Siman Brothers Outdoors. That's where you're going to find all our content that we're talking about. But we'll always try to start our episodes with very minimal banter and getting right to the topic.
The banter will come in the end.
Yeah, and then we have those shop talk episodes too where we'll just
if you want the banter, you can just listen to those.
But yeah, finding your target bucks. So for us, it's very important that we, unfortunately, we don't get blessed with in our area here where we hunt, we don't get blessed with a random shooter giant buck that just shows up during the fall usually and, changes the way things go. The way we hunt here is we kind of build our list throughout the year and we have it rolling year to year to year, watch these deer grow up, get age to them, they become more important over time. And that process starts for us, honestly, at the end of each hunting season. So honestly, I'm going to talk about what we do first is the end of the previous year. So once you're done hunting or you're down to the last couple of months or weeks of January.
Yeah, we're taking inventories in the late season when you can feed the deer, when they're really concentrated and you can really get a good eye for what those bucks are because they're not really moving very far.
Yeah, we're not huge corn users, but when it comes to snow, January, February, late season, cell cams and corn everywhere. Every property we have, cell cams and corn, baiting, because we're just trying to get pictures of as many bucks as we can. And if we get a deer that's every night or every couple nights for a couple weeks and we know he's close by, we already have him started to be penciled in on the list for the next season. Usually.
Yeah, and if we're still hunting, then we might have a chance to kill that buck. Like we killed some bucks last year in late season.
Actually, last couple seasons we've been getting some late season. Our group killed 3 late season bucks last year and maybe 1 the year before. But we do a lot of late season hunting too. But hit list wise, get that inventory at the end of the year. Save the better bucks, all the 3.5-year-olds or older, or maybe a really good 2.5 if you have some bucks that have some character. Save them in some folders, get them all lined up. It also helps with your shed hunting, which is the second part that I'm going to jump right into. Shed season. Very important for us. You can see behind us here, obviously, we have a pretty massive shed collection. And these are only the keepers. There's a lot that we've given away.
Hundreds and hundreds
belong to someone, like sheds we found at someone else's farm that they have at their house, or all the small ones we've given to the dogs, or I don't even pick up the rotten ones anymore. We just leave them in the woods. But a combination of that late season running cameras over bait, getting your hit list, and shed hunting with that. So you'll be able to tell right away when the deer start, you have bucks show up with circles. There'll be a lot of deer start showing up antlerless.
And that really helps your shed hunting too when you're feeding those deer, because those sheds are going to be in a pretty predictable area when you are running those big corn piles.
Especially when you have a lot of snow that starts to melt. You can follow the melting trails and you'll just pick up sheds, on those trails.
Yeah, it really helps. It really concentrates the bucks and then the sheds.
We have sheds that get dropped in the bait piles too, sometimes. But so late season baiting and cameras and shed hunting. We find a lot of sheds. There's sheds that I've wanted to find that I couldn't, but I'm pretty good at finding the sheds we want to find. A lot of the bucks that we're hunting this year, I have sheds from on the
most of them. Here. And then even when a random buck shows up throughout the year, like we just had a random buck show up on this last camera check, we most likely have history with him, have sheds from him, have pictures of him from the past. Yeah. Not too many mystery bucks that show up around here.
Nope. And every year it's weird. Every year in the same areas, there'll be a buck that'll show up 1 or 2 times, and then the next year I kind of know it's about to happen, and boom, it'll happen on those trail cameras. That buck shows up 1 or 2 times. But shed season, late season, get the base built. It's awesome to have a pile of antlers from the deer you're trying to hunt the next year. If it's a really good buck and you got his sheds from it, it really starts building up the story. We've done that a couple times. It's pretty cool. I also do a lot of late season scouring of fields. So open fields are really hard to cam in the late season with the wind and the snow and the sun and the deer are all spread out, but it's really nice to find sheds. You can, if you're walking around with your binoculars in these big open fields, cut bean fields, winter wheat, alfalfa, even corn fields, a little bit more difficult, but you can find your sheds.
And it's probably a 50-50 split, if not more, towards the fields where we actually find our sheds. We're finding a lot of our sheds in the open.
Yep.
A lot more than you would imagine.
Everybody because at night they're just feeding intermittently throughout the evening.
They say crawl through those bedding areas to find those sheds, but we'll actually find more.
And we do find some crawling through the bedding areas, but I mean, this is actually my shed hunting hoodie, and you can see it's all tore up because you get destroyed by thorns. But after that, to be honest with you, when the early spring's rolling around, we shift gears away from deer completely, and we go into turkey hunting, trout fishing mode. We do a lot of fishing trips, and we do a lot of turkey hunting trips. And I actually completely shut off deer from about March, probably about February, late February, early March through July. April, May, June, those months, you can start getting some trail camera pictures of bucks and stuff, but it's really hard to tell who, what, where. There's so much vegetation that it's hard to really pinpoint down on food sources. But when July rolls around, there should only be 2 places where you keep your trail cameras and you concentrate on, and that's bean fields and alfalfa fields. Those 2 things, especially here in Ohio, across the Midwest, beans and alfalfa in the summertime, it's the only place you should have your cameras. Even if you have a really nice clover plot that's an acre or 2, I wouldn't even concentrate that in the summer. It's too small of a destination food source for that time of year. Yeah, there'll be some deer using it, but I would work on maintaining that clover for the fall, and I would shift all my cameras either to field edges or trails leading into fields.
Because the bucks are going to be in the beans, and they're going to be in the beans in the daylight too.
Yep. And we do a lot of mineral licks too, so I'll have my mineral licks loaded up with cell cams on them. But fields, beans, alfalfa, mineral licks, late June, July, August, September. That's the only places I'm going to have my cameras. I'm not even going to worry about anything else. Trying to put your camera on a deep woods trail in July, you could get some cool pictures here and there, but you'll get 1 or 2 in a month's check. It's not worth your time. And keep them where the food is.
Let's talk about those mineral sites. we have better luck a lot of times when those mineral sites are really close to the food sources.
Yeah.
So really close to those soybean fields. We have some minerals way deep in the woods, and they don't get hit nearly as often as the ones close to the food source.
Yeah, if you have them next to some bedding, it could help, and they'll come out of their bedding and hit the minerals and then head out to the fields. But they like to browse along, around in those transition areas, and if you have a mineral lick there, they'll hit it before coming out to the field. It just concentrates them to be able to get some pictures. We build our hit list a lot with driving around in the summer, glassing bean fields and alfalfa fields. We do a lot of road scouting. We even go, we do spots where we're hunting, but we even go a mile or two away from where we're hunting.
Because we
know
those deer.
spots, right? Because those deer sometimes will work their way through in the fall, and we'll know right away when we see him in the fall. Oh, I watched that deer in this area. That's where he came from. Now we know he kind of transitions this direction because he spent all summer in this particular bean field. So that information is valuable.
There was one deer in particular, one that's running around the field now. We call him the hippie buck. Mm-hmm. He's running around our woods. Ethan's seen him once from the stand. We were actually watching him in the summer. I don't know, 2.76 miles away.
Yeah.
That's as the crow flies. So this buck was traveling a lot. So just because you're seeing a buck down the road in a bean field doesn't mean he won't be in your woods come the season.
As it transitions closer to hunting season, the beans start to mature, the alfalfa starts getting cut off, and things of that nature start happening. We're talking like September, late August, September, getting into October. I'll start transitioning my cameras to trail areas where I know deer are traveling a lot. Maybe start hitting my food plots that I've planned at. We usually plan our food plots in August, mid to late August or September. Those lush, early green food plots, there's a lot of action in. But I start moving my cameras off the beans when the beans start getting real high and woody stemmed and, yellow leaves.
Yeah, and we'll leave them on the beans if we have the second crop beans.
Yeah, second crop beans kind of changes things. But as the beans become less palatable, I kind of move my cameras off. That's when I start transitioning to trails. And that's kind of a suck situation. September, early October, because deer are transitioning too. Food sources aren't as reliable. I move cameras around a lot in that time period just to try to get a couple pictures or some videos. I run all my regular cameras on video, and actually most of my cells now too, just to try to get some of these deer. But I know that it's temporary. This flux in the range and everything that they're doing is kind of temporary.
Mm-hmm. And the deer really start changing their patterns because pressure starts hitting the woods at this point. The season's getting ready to start.
People are in the woods messing around, putting in their food plots. They're putting out their corn, their cameras, all this
putting
stuff.
In their tree stands, all that. They're getting ready as well.
So they kind of have an idea that it's coming. June, July, August, no one was bothering these deer. They go from bed to food every night, not even counting a human. September, early October rolls around, all of a sudden there's people in the woods. So things start to shift. And then we end up where we are at right now. Right now is the most crucial time. It's mid-October, mid to starting to get to be late October. This is when your hit list should be mostly full. You still could have some deer show up. Things could definitely
You're going to
change.
have some stragglers that are
But you're going to have
wandering.
75-80% of your hit list built. You should start to know where the deer are coming from, where they're feeding. This is when you're transitioning all your cameras. And I'm telling you, when I say all my cameras, I'd say 80 to 90% of my cameras right now are on scrapes. I know, if it's a farm you've been using for a very long time, where some of these scrapes are going to pop up. If it's a bigger piece, public, or even your farm and you want to do some scouting like we did today, rain was coming, so we just got boots on the ground today and just bombed into the woods deep everywhere, found a bunch of scrapes. But right now, cameras on scrapes. It's going to give you every buck in the area. You're going to see bucks that you're going to get videos of bucks that you're never even going to see from stand that are coming through at night. You're going to get all your hit list bucks, scrapes. And I would do a mixture of field side and deep wood scrapes because they're different. A field edge scrape is just, I'm feeding through here or I'm checking for does real quick. Here's a low branch. Wham, 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 move on. You find a big car hood size scrape in the woods with a good licking branch next to a bedding area, you're going to get every deer on the farm is going to hit that scrape.
And this is also the easiest time to know where to put your cameras because you take one walk through the woods, and if there's bucks there, there'll be scrapes. Pick out a big, good scrape, and you put your camera on it, and you're going to
get the bucks. I mean, that's just, it's plain, it's simple. You're going to get the bucks. Today, there was a couple different times where we'd be walking, we'd walk 100, 150, 200 yards. No sign, not much here. And then all of a sudden, rub, small scrape, big rub. It's like, all right, this is a hub of activity. We're going to put 2 or 3 cameras up on each side of this, get a good camera for a scrape.
Don't say it. Don't say hub scrape.
Why?
Because that's the key word everybody uses these days.
So I don't even follow what people use these days, but Yeah, okay. We have a hub scrape on the South Farm right now because we've had like 7 different bucks hit it in the last 2 days, including our shooter buck. He's hit it 3 different times in the last 2
an hour
days.
after shooting light. So
Yeah,
things are getting closer.
So that scrape is on the edge of a food plot where the deer transition out of the woods, hit a food plot, and then go out to the main bean field right now. Every deer's hitting that scrape. I have another scrape close by. It's getting hit. I mean, scrapes. I can't even stress enough right now.
Yeah, and we walked
mid to late October.
How many scrapes did we see today? 50?
Yeah,
60?
probably 50.
On 100 acres.
Yeah,
So.
we walked 100 acres. We probably found 50 scrapes, some better than others. There's some that were dug into the ground. I mean, holes. They could hold water if it rained, which it's supposed to. But scrapes. Our cameras so I went to Indiana about a month ago, which is a little early for scrapes, but I put up cell cameras and regular cameras on trees that I wanted to be scraped on. So there's low-hanging branches where trails connect, or it's a saddle or a hub in the woods, a ridge. And I could see that there was either a scrape there last year, I could see a twisted branch from last year, or you could just tell this deer trail coming through here, and there's some low-hanging branches. These are going to get scraped on. That's what I put all our cameras on. I've already got 2 shooters in Indiana, and maybe 4 or 5 other bucks that are non-shooters. Ethan's got 3 or 4 shooters in Pennsylvania, and 3 or 4 bucks that aren't shooters. So it's already happening for us.
And so let's talk about your scrape strategy right now. Are you mock scrapes, natural scrapes, both scrapes? What are we utilizing?
In a perfect world for me, what I would prefer to have is an existing heavy scrape that I find, put a camera on, mock it up myself a little extra, and leave. Because that one you already know the deer hitting. Now, we do have a couple tree kois set up, some that are getting hit better than others. I actually moved one off a tree koi.
Yeah, maybe explain what a tree koi is.
Tree koi is where I literally take a shovel and dig a hole and plant a tree with a low overhanging branch for the deer to make a scrape on in an open area. So I'm not going to do this in the woods where there's already stuff, but we have a large 2-acre food plot this year, right in the middle. Dug a hole, set up a scrape. Deer have been crushing it every night. I mean, I'm talking 50 to 100 pictures per night on this scrape.
Yeah, and we basically
do
this.
Small bucks, some tweener buck. We got a couple 3-year-olds that have been hitting it. I mean, and we've been doing it for years.
And we basically do it in an area where there's nowhere to put a scrape because whether it's an open food plot, open field, it gives us something for the deer to gravitate to, especially when we're hunting. So we're hunting a big food plot, 2 or 3 acres. We want those deer to stop and stand and do something about 25 yards in front of us. Put that tree koi out there, at least gets their attention. They come to that, you get a shot. We haven't had a perfect situation where we've killed a buck doing that yet.
Not yet.
But there's been several times where there's been bucks real close to our hit list, hitting those right in front of us.
Usually 3-year-olds that were not quite ready to shoot, but there has been plenty of times when a shooter buck has hit those scrapes. We're just not in the stand because of whatever reason.
Because you can only get,
It's like the rock in the fish tank, theory. So you have a plain fish tank and you put some fish in there with no cover, no pictures, no nothing, just regular.
They're going to float around randomly.
They just randomly go around. But you put a rock in there or a stripe on the wall or a fake weed, boom, cover. Fish are just attracted to it. They just check it out because it's something to break up the monotony.
So that's our strategy when it comes to the tree kois.
So we have a couple.
It does seem to work.
We have a couple on those. We're going to leave our cameras on scrapes throughout the rut because about November, the first week in November, so I'd say, the 1st through the 5th, about that time frame, scrapes will pretty much dry up and go to nothing. But also at that time, trail cameras, unless you have them in, there's some times we'll put them in open areas where we can kind of survey. The regular non-cells work better than cells because cell cameras kind of struggle with capturing a lot of activity because they got to uplink to the cloud and all that. But cameras kind of die out, mid-November. We will still get great pictures of some shooter bucks, but it's not going to be as consistent as it is right now. This next 20 days is when scrapes are just going to be every night hammered. After that, it's going to kind of back down for a while. As the rut progresses, we've said in multiple podcasts here that the rut never ends in Ohio until the antlers fall off, which is true. As the rut progresses, scrapes will become more of a thing again, early to mid-December through January. Deer will start hitting those scrapes again a little bit more regularly, but nothing near as much as they're going to in the next week or two. And the next week or two is going to be off the charts.
Yeah, and while we're on the deer camera subject right now, It is this may be a subject for a different day, but the transition in trail cameras from regular trail cameras to cell cams has kind of killed our strategy of putting cameras on specific trails.
Yeah.
Because the way the cell cams work, they don't get the super fast trigger speed, and they're not really catching those deer running by on a trail like the trail cameras used to.
Yeah, like our Brownings that we ran for years and years and years, and we still have some. They're all slowly dying because we just not use them too much. But if you put those on video mode on a trail with an instant trigger, so you have no delay, deer walks by, starts recording a video. Another deer walks by 10 seconds later, it starts recording a video. Most of them have smart video. If a deer keeps walking by, they'll take a 2-minute video of all the action. They won't stop. Cell cams are different. It'll trigger and take a picture. We have most of our set on video, so it'll take a 10-second video, and then it has to start uplinking to the cloud. And as that stuff is happening, more deer are coming by, a buck's chasing that doe, and you just miss it.
Yeah, and so it's just kind of interesting the way the market has changed has kind of dictated the strategy that we use.
I like to have an attraction for my cell cams. I want something to stop the deer in front of it so they're hanging out for a minute, either eating or working a scrape, mineral lick, something like that. Late season, it'll be bait, because if you're just relying on movement, they do kind of lack at times.
And then it really sucks too when you have your cell cam set up on a trail and you get one picture a day. You're sitting there on your phone. Yeah. One picture.
You feel like it's just a wasted effort. A waste of time. You're paying that monthly subscription. You got your batteries. You put it somewhere maybe deep in the woods where you didn't want to go because you don't want to disturb anything. And you're getting a squirrel, a doe, a 6-point, squirrel, doe.
It's a little bit different when you go through.
One good buck walks by and then a week goes by.
Yeah, when you go through 2 weeks of pictures and you're going through your camera and you have 3 pictures of a nice mature buck, you're like, oh, that's pretty good. Yeah. But when you have your cell cam and you're watching it every day for 2 weeks and you have 3 pictures of bucks, you're like, man, this sucks.
Yep.
So that kind of changes our strategy on where we put those cameras as well.
Yeah, it kind of tests your patience. It's one of those things now where like you want your cell cams, the ones that are going right to you right now, real time. You want them in your best spots,
getting your most pictures of your most mature bucks.
And unfortunately, I don't like to always do that. That sounds counterproductive. I don't like to always do that because I do like to have my good quality video trail cams sometimes in those good spots because it just gives you data that's just unbelievable. Like, for example, that buck that we got a video of today, we checked some cameras while we were out doing our bomb scouting. We got a quick video of a buck just 2 seconds walking by the camera, nose to the ground, 3 a.m. this morning, 10-pointer that I passed last year that I'm not passing this year. First picture of him all year. The cell cam probably would have triggered and showed a blurry antler coming into the frame. And then if it would have started to take a video, probably would have just got his ass, sent it, and I wouldn't even know that it was a good buck. You honestly wouldn't even know. With those video cams, they capture that stuff a lot better.
Plus, we utilize those video cams for the media that we do. So it's a little bit different for us because we're trying to make full feature-length films of these bucks we're killing with all that media from years past. And you simply can't do that with the cell cams these days. No. It just doesn't produce as good a quality.
We'll show a lot of cell cam video in our stuff, but it's not as good a quality. They say it is, but
they're not quite
there's a
there.
Noticeable difference. And then everything that we're talking about now, late October, November, December gun season is when you should be killing your hitless bucks. If you
in a perfect world,
and if you don't, and you're ended up hunting into late season, we're restarting the cycle again. Your late season, even though you might still be hunting for a particular deer, you're still building your next year's hitless because in Ohio we can only kill one deer. So you have 5 bucks coming into an area. You're already building your hitless for next year, so the cycle just repeats itself again and again and again. And we've been doing this with our trail cameras since the year is 2006. We've been doing this with trail cameras since 2006. So. I don't know how, 17 years or something like that now. Long time. Lots of hard drives full of pictures and videos.
You have hundreds of thousands of pictures.
Our trail cameras, it's not out of the realm to say our trail cameras have taken millions of pictures over the years.
Probably.
Millions. And I've probably saved about 100,000 on hard drives. So there's a lot. That's our strategy to finding target bucks. Early season hunting is another time when you're still building that hit list. If you have a buck locked down, patterned well, and it's an exceptional deer, you can make an early season play. I have no problems with that. But when you're like us and you got, 3 or 4 guys hunting each property and a list of bucks, you're trying to play it smart. We do a lot of observation sits early season to where we're kind of out of the game, but we're able to see, usually a big feeding area or an open flat in the woods, oaks or something like that. You're able to put your eyes on a lot of deer, watch them for multiple hunts, where they're coming, where they're going. You're very non-invasive. You got easy exits, easy out. We're not setting up the woods.
We're getting countless hours of footage of deer across bean fields,
right,
across food plots. And we're just not always going in for the kill in the early season. And that's our strategy, just a little bit different than most people. A lot of people will set up their stand.
And we have the time, to devote. Because honestly, and we might have even dealt with this situation. I think we probably have bumped or spooked a couple of our hitless bucks that we watched 3 or 4 days earlier in the season because we got a little bit aggressive with some cold weather last week. Ethan went in with his saddle. We did a couple other things, and they stopped showing up in the bean fields in the evenings. And I would assume
it probably winded us
because of trail camera evidence. I think Ethan did get winded by one of those mature shooter bucks that kind of changed the landscape of the early season hunting. But we have a long ways to go. It's October, like you said, 18th, 19th.
Yeah, we can't kill our target buck this early, then we'll miss out on months and months of fun.
Yeah. So that is our recipe for finding our target bucks.
And this is just how we do it on our property where we are. Obviously, it's a lot different in big hill country.
Yeah, I mean, hill country, just swap out the things that I'm saying as far as, bean fields and stuff and swap them out for oak flats or, if there's some type of native browse that they're using. Like that. Just switch it out. Obviously, you're going to get less information. We hunt big hill country in 3 different states. I would say, actually, where we hunt in Indiana is not really big hill country.
It's pretty similar to here.
Very similar to here.
A little bit more. See, we don't
hillier, but there is ag.
We don't really use the topo to our advantage here because the creek bottoms and everything is so small. Our elevation changes are in
50 feet.
Yeah, in the tens of feet when some people are in the hundreds and actually the thousands. So we don't use that too much to our advantage. A little bit more in Indiana, and then obviously when we go to West Virginia.
West Virginia is crazy hill country. Yeah. Pennsylvania is rolling hills, and there are some very deep hill country stuff area where we hunt in Pennsylvania, but nothing like West Virginia. West Virginia is straight up, straight down. And we've been able to pattern bucks there year after year. Mm-hmm. There's multiple bucks that we've gotten on the same cameras year after year using these. Like I said, we're using the acorn drop and some of the eye-level browse more than, bean fields, obviously, and stuff of that.
Yeah, and we're using saddles, and we're also using neighbors' pressure and all that to our advantage when we're hunting those big hill countries.
For my trail cameras in West Virginia, I like to use like the inside edge of a ravine, a point where it comes up. Mm-hmm. I like to use the inside edge where the deer will cut from point to point, and that's where most of our great trail camera.
Yeah, because it's very rare with those big ridges that those deer will walk exactly on the top of the ridge, especially in a lot of the spots there's four-wheeler trails.
And there's shelves. There's lots of shelves in West Virginia as it goes down. And those shelves, inside shelves of bends, man, it's money.
Yeah, they'll hit
bears and bucks.
They'll hit those saddles, hit those benches, but they will never really run the ridges. They'll run the benches, but not the ridges.
Yep. I've noticed that, and if they do run the ridges, I killed my buck last year. They're running it kind of diagonally.
Yeah, they'll pop over and down.
So that's our strategy to finding target bucks. I had a real good streak where I was able to kill my target buck 3 years in a row. That streak died last year because my number one target buck disappeared on me. And this year, admittedly, I don't have a number one target, so it's not.
I don't think any of us do because we have a bunch of bucks spread out.
There's 5
and
deer.
A lot of similar bucks.
There's 5 deer that are killable. Like we have agreed that there's 5 bucks we can hunt on the home farm here that are killable. 4 that I would kill. 1 that I would really like to kill, but the chance of killing him are probably very slim because he's not a regular. He's around,
and he's got a lot of people chasing him.
A lot of people hunting him. But so this year I don't admittedly have like a true number one. 2019, 20, 21, I had 1 deer that I was hunting and I was able to kill him. Last year broke that streak.
Well, we are running 4 years straight, getting one of our mature bucks off this 100-acre farm. So that's a pretty good. We might be 5 years.
5. Yeah, 5. 4.
4 years straight.
4 years straight.
The 1 year we got 2, so.
Yeah, 1 year we got 2. Last year we got 1, theoretically.
So 5 4.5-year-old plus bucks in the past 4 years on 100 acres. So that there is something to be said about that. We're just hunting this small 100 acres.
And we got our other spots too. So a lot of this stuff, when we reference we and us, we're talking about our farm, but thankfully the group has a lot of land spread out to a lot of different places.
Yeah, we hunt a lot of different places. Me and Caleb and I are about the only ones that only hunt here.
Yeah.
Everybody else
Ethan hunts majority here, but he's got some other spots too. He's been doing some public land stuff, and some other things, but
when it comes to whitetail hunting here in Ohio, that's basically what we do. We're pretty much on this 100 acres.
This year is the first year in a while. So last year honestly sucked because there was multiple mature bucks using the farm and they weren't big. One of them's on the wall back here.
107
We're
inches.
talking 5-6-year-old mature deer that are under 120 inches. So they're deer that we knew really well, sheds, this and that and the other. They just weren't very big. This year, we're in the exact opposite situation. We have a lot of deer that would score really well. They would score in the upper echelon of what we have killed in our hunting careers. There's a lot of debate on whether they're 3, 4. There's one deer that we know is 5, and there are a couple other deer that we're pretty sure are 4. But there's some deer that are, and there'll be definitely some debate amongst this room if they're hanging up in here, whether or not they're actually 3-year-olds, because we don't advocate killing the 3-year-olds here on our farm because we can kind of build our hit list and attempt to let some deer live. We've had a lot of drama with deer that we wanted to let live that the neighbors just didn't seem to feel the same.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have neighbors that we could talk to.
Yeah.
We have 30 different neighbors that are hunting the same deer as us. So these deer can only do what they can do. We can only do as much as we can. We can let them go.
In a perfect world, there's a couple of these deer that are on our hit list this year that I would like to never see in bow range and just let it, get a year older because we're not quite sure. And we're going to start sending in teeth. We talked to Nick about that because Nick's the one that's on our ass about making sure we don't kill any 3-year-olds. And we don't want to kill any 3-year-olds. But, man, is it tough to tell this year because we have 140 class bucks that might be 3 years old. And in years past, 3-year-olds were all 96 inches.
Yeah, and the best.
It wasn't a debate because it wasn't hard. We weren't tempted by anything.
The best strategy for our farm to grow giant bucks is to not get opportunities at those medium-sized bucks.
Yes. Yeah, and hopefully and we can only control what we can control. If we let all 5 of these deer pass this year, and then the neighbors kill all 5 of them, I'm gonna be really, really upset. To be honest with you.
Yeah, but
we can't control that.
Yeah.
So
if
we get an opportunity to kill 1 or 2 of these 5, we'll be happy with it, and then hopefully the 3 or 4 of them will be able to survive till next year. If the neighbors kill 1 or 2 of them, maybe 1 or 2 of them will be able to survive till next year, and we'll have a bona fide shooter. And other bucks will make the list that aren't on it right now.
Yeah, and it's a little bit upsetting when the neighbors, from a deer management perspective, when the neighbors shoot a younger buck. But obviously, it's their choice. People can shoot what they want. We're still happy for them.
We've got red in the face and done a lot of screaming in the past about that shit. It accomplishes nothing.
Yeah, and in the end,
and usually a month or 2 goes by, and then you just end up being just back to the way it was.
Yeah, in the end, there's nothing you can do about it. It may have been a trophy for them. It could have been their kid that shot it
last year.
Yeah,
still not over that one, but I am. But yeah, luckily we have a bunch of deer that are known 2 or 3-year-olds that are really good that we've been able to watch, film, pass already this year. So we have a good crowd of deer for next year, even if the ones that are tweeners to us don't survive. I'm excited. It's going to be a lot of fun during the rut in late season to have the larger quality deer around compared to last year.
So we probably do another 10, 15 minutes. Let's talk about our season thus far. We haven't really given too much of an update on how our seasons have been going.
If you want to know how our season's been going, Deer Camp Chronicles Episode 2, released last night. It's on YouTube, Siman Brothers Outdoors. Just search Deer Camp Chronicles playlist.
It's our new show, and it seems to have been doing well so far. It's pretty well.
I'm happy with the metrics. It has all our early. So the first week of the season, we had a lot of really, really good hunts, close calls, shooter bucks, tweener bucks. They were like maybe not shooters, maybe shooters. And we've seen a bunch of the younger bucks.
I had a shooter 10 in range that I wasn't able to identify, and then it started getting dark. But if I really wanted to, I could have squeezed a shot at it. Unfortunately, I was watching a different buck across the field, and I thought the buck that was closer was a different non-shooter.
I'm glad that you didn't take a shot at him only because of how dark it was with the footage.
And it was my first hunt of the year.
I would have no problem if that deer got killed as long as the footage was great. That's a caveat. We've kind of entered the realm to where we don't have to rush our shots and do hasty things because we got a wall full of deer. So we can make sure that if we are going to take some of these bucks, that we do it in high quality so we can share it and make it part of our show. But that Deer Camp Chronicles Episode 2 has all our early season hunting on it. I'm currently in the studio right now working on Deer Camp Chronicles Episode 3, which will have a lot more early season hunts as a trip down to the Gore Farm.
New exciting things at the Gore Farm, which
Yep.
we talked about on a podcast a couple episodes
Yeah,
back.
cabin's up. We actually slept in the cabin. It was pretty miserable. I was fine. I was on a cot.
No power, no lights, no
No
anything.
power, no lights, but we were dry.
No heat.
We're inside a cabin. It was plenty warm upstairs in that loft. The only problem is they were installing drywall, and we breathed in drywall dust all night long. Chris slept on some type of military sleeping pad and hated his life and snored like an ox the entire time.
So in the years to come, there's going to be a lot of media that comes down there.
Oh,
We're really excited for the Gores to have that.
We'll be podcasting from down there,
And
for sure.
and there's some bucks down there.
Yeah, there's some bucks. So the hit list for this year is not as good as last year. There's a couple bucks from last year that are back that we got pictures of. Pretty excited about seeing those. The main two deer that we wanted to see from last year have not returned yet. I'm sure they will. We got cell cam up, bunch of cameras on scrapes. Me and Chris went down there, got all the cams situated. We did 2 sits. We did an evening and a morning. Evening sit, Chris actually watched a couple good bucks, 120 class 8 points, feed in a food plot at like 100 yards. But the way my camera was with this early season vegetation, unfortunately, I wasn't able to get any video of that. And then the next morning, we hunted a different food plot on the other side of the farm, got a lot of footage of does, and then we did our cam check. It was a good time, and it was just a quick one-night trip. We're going to do more of those in November for sure. We did our trip last year down there before the cabin was built. It's a day trip, and we had that awesome encounter with his shooter buck, the 5x3, which I would really love to get another encounter with.
We're hoping Chris
If
can
he's
get
alive,
down there.
if he's alive. But Chris now has graduated from all his schooling, and he's working full-time union fire, so he's able to have a lot more time than he was before.
And we'll get Big Chris on the show sometime. He's going to be hunting down there a lot.
Yeah.
So hearing his stories is going to be cool too.
Yep. We got to get Big Chris on, do the deer camp podcast, which we haven't done yet. That's going to be coming up soon.
Everything else up here has been pretty normal for early season.
Yeah, I did a lot of hunting with Nick filming. We had some good encounters with some decent bucks. We have the situation that we were attesting to. I'm not sure how much I'm going to put on the Deer Camp Chronicles about it yet. I might wait until it plays out a little bit more. All I will say is somebody put an arrow into a really good buck that we know very well with a lot of history. It was raining like crazy. We followed the blood trail. We brought a tracking dog in the next day. Ben Freeman, we're going to get him on the podcast here sometime soon too, to talk about what to do with the tracking dog, because this is the second time I've been around a track. Luckily, it's never been a track of mine, but the second time I've had him come out. The first time he came out and tracked a deer, it ended up surviving. We jumped it alive. Deer's still alive today. That hunter's going after him. We were unable to find the buck that our group shot. We have no evidence of life yet. The next couple of days we might spend looking for carcasses and buzzards and crows and that kind of thing. We're not sure.
It's a crappy situation that we were unsure about the shot. We're unsure if the deer's still alive.
It wasn't on film, so they went out. The guys went out. There was no cameraman that day. First sit in a new spot. He had 2 shooters come in, including the number one on the farm. The shot placement didn't seem so great. We followed blood 384 yards, I think it was, which is the same amount as we followed for Hook, and then he ended up living 2 more years. So
the evidence
that's what we're hoping.
The evidence is pointing to a muscle hit.
Yeah, there was
bone.
no evidence of guts, which is a good thing. So
no evidence of vitals at all.
Yeah, no evidence of guts, lung, heart, maybe liver, but he never bled, and we didn't find, we didn't have any indications of a seriously wounded deer. Seemed like a muscle, non-lethal hit. We're hoping he comes back soon. We will update you guys.
That's
on
a saga that will be told before this season is over, but it's just not finished yet. So we don't want to tell the full story.
It's in the construction terms, so we'll leave that as it is. There's a big weather front coming in right now, so we should be hunting right now. In a normal day, we'd be out hunting, but the next 2 or 3 days, we're going to spend podcasting, working on media, getting video stuff ready. 60s, rainy, south winds.
Southeast wind, so everybody knows that the prominent wind around here is northwest, west, a little bit southwest. So we have most of our sets set up for that. We get a south and a southeast.
It's really hard for us to hunt.
Yeah.
Because the way our farm shapes up, road, feed, beds. Mm-hmm. South wind just doesn't do very good.
It doesn't help us.
Doesn't do very much at all. So that's why we're not hunting right now. We get a couple 2-3 days actually to work on media, which is nice. We were unable to bring you a podcast last week, which really sucked, and we felt bad about it. Our first week that we've missed, but hopefully this one finds you guys well. We are packing for Indiana.
Yeah, that's the big kicker right now.
Yep,
So that's what we're all excited
about. The big
about.
news for right now for Siman Brothers Outdoors is we're getting ready to head to Indiana, our public land deer camp with Born Again Bow Hunting. This year, Trophy Line Saddles will be there, and maybe a smaller channel or two, possibly.
But it's going to be fun. It's going to be deer camp style.
They're on their way there now, I think, actually, right?
Yeah,
no,
it'll be deer camp style with a bunch of people that we don't know as well. So it'll be cool to meet new people, see new strategies. The Born Again guys all hunt out of saddles.
Yeah.
They all use Trophy Line stuff and Noviks and all that. So they're a little bit different than us.
Yeah, we're mobile set guys, so we're hanging tree stand sticks. Except for Ethan. Ethan's going to be doing the saddle.
We're like circa 2012 Lone Wolf tree stands, and which it worked for us last year.
Yep, right there.
Yeah, there's my buck from last year.
So Siman Brothers Outdoors won that challenge last year.
Yeah, no big deal.
No big deal. So we're going for the repeat.
So I'm going to be hunting. Actually, I think the first morning, I'm going to be sitting in the same spot I shot this buck. Pretty sure that's what my strategy is.
And like I said, I'm running trail cams up there, and we already got 2 shooters on camera. So,
and we're going to podcast while we're there, and we'll talk about our strategies of how we're going to hunt while we're there. But right now, we're just preparing. We're getting excited. There's 4 of us going, just the 4 brothers from our group.
I think if the weather's, we could do some podcasts. I've been thinking about where we're going to podcast while we're up there because there's a lot of guys and they have a podcast and a lot of video channels. I think we could do it on the front porch.
Yeah, if it's not too windy, we can do it. Yeah. Front porch, we can do it, outside, anywhere. Do it in our trucks, anything like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So we'll be podcasting while we're there. Basically, 5-6 days, public land.
Yeah, they're going up Saturday. We're going up Tuesday, all the way till Sunday afternoon.
So we're hoping there's some deer hanging this year.
All public, no private land hunting.
Last year we did a week prior to this. Yeah. So we hunted a week earlier. In camp we shot 3 bucks. We were able to recover 2. Mine was the biggest.
Oh yeah, right. But it was all early, so it was the first 2 or 3 days we had good weather. The last 4 or 5 days it was literally 90 degrees. Awful hunting weather.
Our weather looks slightly better this year, but it's still going to be warm and rainy.
Yeah, 60s and rainy for the first 4 or 5 days, and then the last 3 or 4 days like 40s and cold. So,
and we're going to be filming everything. We're going to be filming a lot.
Yep. Hopefully Deer Camp Chronicles. We're going to be hopefully 2 or 3 episodes for the Deer Camp Chronicles. Hopefully.
Yeah, if we can get a bunch of episodes for
that. And we'll get at least 1 more episode before we go. So episode 3 will be released before we leave for Indiana.
You're going to get that done?
Yeah, I'm gonna hopefully get it done today or tomorrow. Let's just spend the next 24 hours in the studio.
It'll either be posted or be posting the night of this probably.
Yeah, we might do Sunday. I'm trying for a Sunday night release on episode 3, and depending on how the hunting goes before we leave, I might be able to squeeze an episode out and finish it while we're in Indiana if we kill a buck. Because this upcoming Sunday's weather looks prime, just prime. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting.
And we're not leaving until Tuesday morning, so we can hunt all day Sunday. We can hunt all day Monday. At least I can, and then we'll leave Tuesday morning. So
yes, we are very excited.
This is actually going to be a 2-for podcast night.
Yeah,
we're ending this one right now. That was our update. That's finding your target bucks, building your hit list, and then a little update on our season.
Another thing, if you are a fan of the show and you want to be on it and you have a topic you want to talk about, feel free to message us, call us. Probably if you're listening to this, you know us personally. So if you want to be on the show and you have a good topic, we'll have you in and we'll talk about it.
There's a couple ways. Yeah, you can always message Siman Brothers Outdoors on
all
Instagram or Facebook, wherever. Text, call us. We have a group on Facebook that we're kind of starting to try to build called the Deer Shop. We're going to try to post a lot of our stuff in there. You could join that group. You could ask questions in there.
We're
not opposed to having anyone on the podcast.
We're always looking for interesting topics.
We haven't really had many guests yet, but we do have some guests lined up for the future. I'm going to get Justin Czar on here soon. I don't know if we'll be able to get him on before we go to Indiana. I would like to get him on before we go to Indiana.
Yeah, we can at least get him on the phone. We haven't done a mobile yet, have we?
Nope, but we're going to try. A lot of stuff coming.
Yeah.
So also, if you're listening, please leave a review. Hit the stars, on the podcast reviews because they use that metric to kind of promote. So the more people who leave feedback for us, the better. If you want to leave bad feedback, go ahead. I don't care. Just leave some type of feedback.
Obviously, check out the YouTube channel. Check out the Leaky John Boat Company.
The YouTube version of these podcasts is usually a lot of fun. If you're sitting around watching TV at night or in your shop or something, because it'll have a lot of media overlaid. I spent a lot of time overlaying media of what we're talking about. So I'll have a lot of hit list bucks on this episode. Stuff of that nature. We'll talk about. You'll be able to see it. So.
And if you would like a Deer Shop podcast hat, we have these limited edition hats. You have to contact me if you want one.
And Luke's got them on the Leaky Jumbo Company. Yes. There's the trucker style Deer Shop podcast hat that I do wear quite often. We don't really keep a stock here in the Deer Shop, but there are some hats available for sale right now over there. So. Yeah. Like I said, this is a 2-part podcast tonight. We're going to end it. This will be episode 13. Isaac has a couple guests coming in tonight, and they're going to talk all about their Western hunting stuff. We're not sure what episodes those will be.
It'll probably most likely be the next episode. Maybe 2 more episodes. We'll probably get some in Indiana in before that.
But yeah, the Western recap stuff will be there. The Western podcast, the 6 weeks in Montana, was the most popular one on the streaming services that we have had.
Mm-hmm. And this next one will show those 6 weeks in Montana.
This is the sequel to the 6 weeks in Montana. So thank you guys for listening. Sorry about last week. We appreciate you coming back and hanging out with us. There's going to be a lot of content coming. It's hard to stay on top of things during the season, so we're trying to get the weekly podcast out. I'm working on multiple YouTube shows at one time. Isaac's editing all his Western stuff, and he's still kind of working here and there. And
I'm working a lot, actually.
Yeah, it's a mess.
My time off is over.
It's going to be a lot of fun, so we appreciate it. Deer Shot Podcast. Out.
We are out.